You rejected me for not fitting? Now you're begging for my help?
Please, you're my only chance.
Oh man, you wouldn't believe this if I told you straight up, but picture it's one of those wild, pounding rainstorms in Atlanta, the kind where the sky just opens up and dumps everything it's got, thunder rumbling like it's got something personal against the city. And there I was, Aisha Thompson, wrapping up my shift at the Crescent Diner, wiping down the counters, flipping chairs onto tables, thinking about nothing but getting home to my tiny apartment and crashing after another double shift that left my feet screaming. Suddenly, this guy stumbles up to the door, drenched like he'd been swimming in the Chattahoochee, blood mixing with the rain on his face, and he mutters something like, "Please, don't let them find me," before he just collapses right there on the wet sidewalk, his fancy suit all torn up, looking like he'd been through hell and back. And in that split second, with lightning flashing overhead and the streets empty as a ghost town, I froze, heart pounding, wondering if this was some kind of setup, or if I'd just stepped into someone else's nightmare. But something in me, maybe from all those years of being overlooked and pushed aside, kicked I couldn't just leave him there, not when the world had left me hanging so many times before. So I dragged him inside, locked the door, and thought, well, this ain't how I planned my night, but here we go. See, Aisha wasn't the type to panic grown up in the rougher parts of Atlanta, where you learn quick that screaming don't solve nothing, and she'd been through enough rejections to build a wall around her heart, but not so thick that she couldn't feel compassion sneaking through. 3 years back, she'd sat in this sleek conference room at Hale Innovations, that big tech company downtown, nerves buzzing like a hive of bees, her resume polished, her coding skills sharp from late nights at the community college, dreaming of finally breaking into something bigger than waiting tables. But the interview? It was off from the jump. The exec smiled that fake, polite smile, asked questions without really listening, and a week later, bam, rejection email hits. Thanks, but we're going with candidates who fit our company culture better. Hurt like hell, but she dug deeper through a friend in HR and found out the real deal. One of the big shots, Jackson Hale himself, had flagged her as not brand aligned, which was code for her being black, her locks too bold, her accent too southern, too much of everything they didn't want in their glossy ads. So she picked herself up, dusted off, and landed at the Crescent Diner, slinging plates of grits and fried chicken, smiling through the aches, building that quiet strength that comes from surviving when the odds are stacked. And now here was this stranger on her floor, breathing shallow, no ID, just a sleek metal keycard tucked in his shoe like some spy movie prop hand. As she bandaged his cuts with towels from the kitchen, she whispered to herself, "Girl, what have you gotten into?" Not knowing this was the start of flipping her whole world upside down. Morning came slow, the rain easing into a drizzle, and Aisha sat in her cramped kitchen, sipping coffee that tasted like regret, watching this guy stir on her couch under her mama's old quilt, the one that had seen her through heartbreaks and hurricanes alike. He groaned, eyes fluttering open, and rasped, Where am I?" And she handed him water, keeping it calm. "You're safe. Passed out at my diner last night, remember any of it?" He sat up gingerly, wincing, taking her in with a look that shifted from confusion to something heavier, like shame washing over him. And that's when it hit. Herculean shaven now, no shadows hiding his features, those sharp jawlines, the piercing eyes. She knew him. Jackson Hale, the CEO who'd once glanced at her resume and decided she wasn't worth a shot, the man whose company built apps that tracked everything from your heartbeat to your bank account, now lying there in her brother's old sweatshirt, vulnerable as a stray cat. Her stomach twisted, irony biting hard. "You know?" And she stepped back, arms crossed, voice steady but edged. "I know who you are, Mr. Hale." He flinched, rubbing his temples. "Yeah. Figured you might." And the air thickened with unsaid things, her mind racing through the anger she'd buried, the what-ifs of that rejection. But deeper still, that pull to see him as just a man in trouble, not the symbol of everything that had held her back. He owed her answers, and she wasn't letting him off easy. She leaned against the doorframe, eyes locked on his. "So, you gonna tell me why a billionaire's running through the rain like he's got the devil on his tail?" Jackson sighed, deep and weary, like the weight of his empire was finally cracking him, and spilled it. He'd been at a high-stakes dinner the night before, one of those exclusive spots in Buckhead where deals get sealed over steak and secrets, prepping to blow the whistle on his top investor, Victor Lang, this slick operator who'd been siphoning funds from Hale Innovations into shady offshore schemes, selling user data to the highest bidder, even dipping into government contracts that could land folks in prison. "I had proof," he said, voice low. "Emails, transfers, recordings, all on a secure server, accessed by this keycard you found. Thought I could handle it quiet, expose him at the board meeting tomorrow. But someone tipped him off. 2 goons jumped me outside, one with a knife, the other swinging fists. I fought back, slipped into the storm, ran till I couldn't, ended up at your door." Aisha's eyes narrowed, piecing it together. "So you're saying Victor wants you dead to keep his dirty hands clean? And you, with all your money and power, end up relying on Maya, waitress you once wrote off?" He looked away, guilt etching lines on his face. "Yeah. Right now, you're all I've got." And in that moment, her inner conflict boiled over. Part of her wanted to laugh at the absurdity, throw him out, and let karma do its dance. But the deeper part, the one shaped by her mama's lessons on grace even when it hurts, whispered that turning away would make her no better than the folks who'd dismissed her. She paced the kitchen, mind whirling. Easy to walk away, right? Let the rich guy fend for himself, especially after how he'd seen her as not fitting the image. Code for all the biases she'd fought her whole life, from schoolyard taunts to job doors slamming shut. But nah, that wasn't her. She'd seen too much pain in her community. Folks overlooked because of skin color or zip code, and leaving him felt like feeding into that cycle. Plus, there was something raw in his eyes, a vulnerability that humanized him, made her see beyond the CEO facade to a man scared for his life. I should be furious, she finally said, handing him more water. And damn it, I am. You sat there years ago and decided I wasn't brand aligned. Looked right past my skills to my curls and my drawl, but I'm not gonna let that turn me cold. What I do now says more about me than you. He nodded, speechless, gratitude mixing with remorse. And just like that, Aisha became his unlikely lifeline. No fanfare, just quiet resolve as she'd bandaged him up, fed him soup from a can, and started plotting their next move, all while her heart wrestled with forgiveness and fury. By afternoon, the drizzle hadn't let up, and Aisha's instincts honed from growing up where you spot trouble before it spots you. Kicked in hard. She stepped out for supplies, band-aids and food, but spotted this black SUV lurking a block away, engine idling, a guy in a dark jacket pretending to text, but eyeing the street too sharp. Her pulse raced. She didn't bolt, just kept walking casual, looped around alleys she knew like the back of her hand, slipped back home shaking but steady. They're onto you, she told Jackson, dropping the bag. SUV, surveillance vibes. We gotta move tonight. He paled, scribbling notes on a pad. Where to? Cops. She shook her head. Nah. Victor's got connections everywhere. Me daddy used to own this old warehouse on the outskirts, abandoned after a fire, but the back room's solid, off the grid. He stared. You're serious? Dead serious, she shot back. Hotels are traps, and trust me, I've learned the hard way that systems don't always protect folks like me. That night, under cover of shadows, she led him through back streets, dodging puddles and patrols, her mind flashing to childhood memories of hiding from storms in that warehouse with her siblings, laughing through the furnace. It was life or death, and as they hunkered down in the dim space, concrete walls echoing their breaths, Jackson pulled out that keycard. Hooked it to a hidden laptop he'd stashed months back. The screen flickered to life, folders unfolding like Pandora's box. Transactions, emails, voicemails proving Victor's web of fraud, data sales that breached privacy laws, bribes to officials for contracts that lined his pockets while screwing over everyday users. Aisha leaned in, breath catching, and then bam, a file with her name popped up. She pointed. Open that. And there it was, the HR memo from her interview. Candidate Aisha Thompson not aligned with brand image, recommend non-advancement for visual coherence. Her chest tightened, years of doubt crystallizing into ugly truth, and she turned to him, voice tight. You knew. You signed off on this crap, didn't you? Jackson hung his head. I didn't write it. But yeah, I let it slide in. I'm sorry, Aisha, truly, for not seeing you, for being part of a system that chews people up. The silence stretched, heavy, but she closed the laptop softly, fire in her eyes. Apologies don't fix it, but this evidence? It could take down Victor and maybe shake up your whole company, so let's use it. In that dusty warehouse, alliances forged in the unlikeliest fire. Aisha's resentment simmering into purpose, knowing this wasn't just about saving him anymore. It was about reclaiming her own power. Sunrise filtered through cracked windows, and Aisha knew running wasn't sustainable. Victor's reach was long, his motives rooted deep in greed and control. A man who'd clawed his way up by stepping on others, seeing Jackson's whistleblowing as a threat to his empire built on lies. She made the call to an old family friend, Lena Brooks, a no-nonsense civil rights lawyer who'd fought cases against corporate giants, the kind with a faded Martin Luther King poster in her office and a fire for justice that never dimmed. They met at a greasy spoon diner off Peachtree, Aisha slipping in first, leaving Jackson in the car, the smell of bacon and coffee grounding her nerves. Lena looked up, warm but sharp. Aisha, girl, what's got you looking like you seen a ghost? Aisha slid a flash drive over. It's big fraud, data theft, and the CEO's hiding out because they're after him. Lena plugged it in, eyes widening as she scrolled, muttering. Lord, this is federal-level dirt. Victor's been playing dirty for years, huh? And you're tangled in it. Aisha nodded. Saved his life. Now we're both targets, but there's more, personal stuff too. Lena closed the laptop, serious. This could blow wide open, but it'll paint a bullseye on you. Ready for that? Aisha exhaled. Been ready since they told me I didn't fit. Let's do this. Days blurred into tension, headlines starting to whisper about Jackson's disappearance. But Victor's PR machine revved up fast, spinning tales that twisted Aisha into the villain, articles calling her a schemer, a waitress blackmailing an unstable CEO, opportunistic and untrustworthy. Dredging up old photos, questioning her motives with that sly racism veiled as doubt. It stung deep, Aisha scrolling her phone in a safe house Lena arranged across town, tears pricking as she read. Why would a billionaire trust her? Echoing the rejections she'd swallowed for years. Enough, she told Lena, voice cracking but firm. I'm going public. Me story my way. Lena set up a simple live stream from the safe house, just Aisha facing the camera, no frills. Hey y'all, I'm Aisha Thompson, waitress from Atlanta, and I didn't sign up for this mess, but here I am. That night in the rain, this man collapses at my diner, bleeding, scared. Turns out it's Jackson Hale, and he's got proof his investors crooked as they come. She laid it out raw, the chase, the threats, even reading that damning HR memo aloud. voice steady. They said I wasn't image aligned because I didn't look the part. But now the world's gonna see the real picture. Views skyrocketed. Comments flooding in supportive, go Aisha. Truth teller, hashtag stand with Aisha trending. Turning the tide. Victor's spin crumbling as public outrage built. Folks sharing their own stories of bias and betrayal, making it bigger than just her fight. It all exploded that Thursday in Hale Innovations boardroom. Air thick with suits and suspicion. Victor striding and cocky as ever, adjusting his tie, schmoozing shareholders like nothing was amiss, his smile sharp as a blade motive clear. Power was his drug, and Jackson's evidence threatened to strip it away. But then the door swung open, Jackson stepping in, alive and unbowed. Bruises fading but resolve steel hard. Gasps echoed. Victor's face paling. This is impossibly not well. Jackson, these are lies. Jackson didn't flinch, just handed over the laptop to the lead counsel, voice even. Everything's here, wires, memos, your betrayals. Victor, you thought you could bury me, but you forgot. Truth digs its way out. Victor snarled, standing. You ungrateful fool, I built this company with you, and this is how you repay? Fabrications from a desperate man and his sidekick. But the doors opened again, FBI agents flooding in, badges flashing, one cuffing Victor efficiently. Victor Lang, you're under arrest for fraud, laundering, obstruction, game over. Victor twisted, spitting venom at Jackson. You'll regret this. You think you're a hero? You're nothing without me. But as they dragged him out, the board sat stunned, then nods rippled, relief washing over. Jackson turning to the room. This ends today thanks to Aisha Thompson, who saw through the BS and saved us all. Press conference outside, cameras flashing like fireworks. Jackson at the podium, Aisha beside him, not hidden, front and center, and he cleared his throat. I owe my life to this woman. She didn't see a CEO, just a person in need, taught me accountability over power, grace over grudge. Applause thundered, but for Aisha, it was surreal, from rejected applicant to the one who toppled corruption, her inner storm calming as she realized her choice that rainy night had rewritten fates. Weeks later, peace settling like dust after a storm. Aisha on a balcony overlooking the Atlanta skyline, sunset painting the city gold. When Jackson appeared, 2 glasses of sweet tea in hand. Mind company? She smiled, teasing. Only if you promise no more dramatic entrances. He chuckled, sitting, been thinking. You didn't just save me, Aisha, you rebuilt me, showed what real strength looks like. He slid over a folder, her name embossed, inside, deeds to a boutique hotel downtown, fully hers. What? This is too much, she stammered, hands shaking. Nah, he said softly. You risked everything, this is just starting even. Build it your way, with the heart you got. She nodded, tears welling but unshed, seeing a future where she called the shots, no more fitting someone else's image. Months on, Aisha stood in her hotel lobby, her hotel, the marble floors gleaming, jazz floating from a corner band, guests checking in with warm smiles, staff bustling like a well-oiled family she'd handpicked, many from her old neighborhood, folks who'd been overlooked too. Quiet moments hit her, heels clicking as she walked, mind drifting to that rainy night. The decision that could have gone either way: walk away, let resentment win, or lean in, choose humanity. She'd chosen the latter, and damn, it changed everything. Reminded her that worth ain't in labels or looks, but in actions when the spotlight's off. But here's the thing that still nags: is justice really served when the system's still rigged? When folks like Victor get caught, but the biases that let him thrive linger? Did the hotel make up for years lost? Or is it just a band-aid on deeper wounds? Makes you think, right? Hey, if this story got you reflecting on your own brushes with unfairness or tough choices, drop a comment below. What would you have done in Aisha's shoes? Was the payback fair? Or does real justice need more shakeups? Share your take, like if it hit home. Subscribe for more real talk tales, and let's chat about how we navigate these community clashes. Your voice matters, y'all.